Hey folks, what's going on? So, with My Hero Academia on a 2-week break and Vigilantes coming out later this week, I figure I'd make a video expanding upon a theory that I brought up in a previous video. Now, somewhere along the lines, I'll be talking about what I think is coming for Chapter 297, but for now, before we get started, this video is gonna have spoilers. So, if you're not caught up fully on My Hero Academia's manga, I'd highly suggest you read it and then head on back. Because today's video is about the possibility of an arc where Deku's trapped inside of the Singularity, and he has to prove to the users of One For All that he won't jeopardize his life as the quirk One For All must be handed off. So, before we get started today, do me a solid. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way we can keep the lights on here at the bar. Let's go grab a drink. Alright everyone, welcome to the bar. Take a seat, order yourself a drink, because today we're serving up another My Hero Academia theory. Now, like I said in the intro, this video is expanding upon an idea that I brought up in a previous video about Deku being in a coma and getting a hefty amount of One For All education in a relatively short amount of time. Essentially, this theory consists of Deku being completely incapacitated post-war arc. Deku's injuries have far exceeded anything like we've seen before in the past, so I have a feeling that while he's unconscious, he may have an experience where he meets the past users of One For All. And during that experience, he learns about their quirks and, gets a little bit of an education about the extraordinary history of One For All. I'm also kind of looking forward to the possibility of a scene where one of the past users of One For All kind of appears in front of Deku and questions his methods. This is like the 6th or 7th time that Deku has destroyed his body. So it's going to be interesting to see if the people that are living inside of his own consciousness are looking at him and being like, dude, what are you doing, man? And look, there is no denying how severely hurt our boy is from this fight. These injuries are similar, if not worse, than the ones that he sustained during the overhaul fight, and he had Eri during that, so, he walked out okay. So I think, until then, they're gonna have to rush Deku to the ER and get him stable enough that Recovery Girl can use her quirk. And if that's not the case, there's still gonna be a few days of fevers, healing, and just tension. But the question that begs to be answered is, what is gonna be happening in that meantime? Like, when we think about all of the incidents that have happened in My Hero Academia, this is the closest that Deku has ever been to death, period. And since he's going to be incapacitated for a short amount of time and they need a way to kind of still keep him in the story to a degree, I would really like an arc to take place inside of his mind where we can learn about the inhabitants of One For All, good and bad. And also, to my frequent viewers, to address one of my previous theories about the 4th user of One For All being alive, that's probably debunked now, because it's been revealed that his quirk wasn't longevity, but danger sense. So I think it's more possible now that the 4th user of One For All could be one of the many vestiges inside of One For All to give Deku a talking to during this coma arc. We've seen that the past users of One For All have come to Deku's aid in the past inside of the Singularity, with Nana coming to his defense during the All For One fight. So, one of my various theories about this Singularity arc will be that instead of like Nana or Banjo taking the forefront, we might have like the 2nd or 3rd user of One For All take the forefront and tell Deku that he's not worthy to be a successor of One For All. I mean, for all we know, Deku being incapacitated could also cause him to involuntarily relive the memories of past users, or, like I said before, have weird educational moments about One For All's history that All Might not even know about. And then eventually, maybe after the jailbreak, you have the Vestige All For One start attacking within the Singularity. Because in the end, the only thing that's separating All For One and Deku is those past 8 bearers of One For All. So if they're not there, All For One just waltzes in and fucks Deku up. And speaking of Shigaraki, seeing as Deku was able to fight All For One within the Singularity, I don't think that battle is necessarily over. Especially because Vestige Rocky has gone off script after getting himself a body. Now he's gone full Highlander, and we don't know whether or not his plan is to kill the main body and just be the only one. I know, what I'm getting at is kind of a little bit of a crackpot theory, but I'm assuming that All For One is essentially already inside of One For All as one of the vestiges. I know, but for some reason this TV screen sometimes sends me down a rabbit hole, and this time it's got me thinking that All For One has already succeeded in stealing One For All before. And afterwards, after he handed it off once again to someone that he could trust, he was betrayed and lost it once again. This would explain why he's inside of the Singularity and why he makes no moves. He just doesn't trust anybody anymore. That whole theory aside, like I said, if All For One acts up inside of the Singularity, the only thing standing between All For One and Deku is those 8 other bearers squatted up that have been repelling him for years, and now that Deku is out cold, All For One might be able to traverse the Singularity and challenge Deku. Or at the same time, Deku might take advantage of being inside of the Singularity to finally save Shigaraki from himself. And imagine if one of the flashback scenes that we get inside of the Singularity is like a glimpse about how one of the users of One For All obtained One For All, or gave us the glimpse of how they passed it off. The prospect of that is absolutely incredible. We've been waiting for a pretty long time to see how the past users of One For All got the greatest ability in the world. Now, what we want to know is what kind of people they were, and while the coma doesn't necessarily have to last a long time, I would expect it to last long enough that hopefully he can experience some memories of the past. The whole entering the Singularity started when he was sleeping initially, and then he was dragged in a few times by Shinzo's quirk. So that aside, it should mean that the Singularity is not only going to be essential to Deku's survival, but maybe, like I said before, Deku's gonna have to prove to the users that he, is worthy of the power again. The 7 other bearers that reside within the Singularity at one point in time have seen someone take the quirk, use the quirk, and then die from it. And to be honest, I kinda hope that Deku gets laid into a bit by the past users of One For All. One For All is kinda like Thor's hammer, as we've seen with My Hero Academia's second movie. It chooses its bearer, meaning that the power can reside within somebody and be handed off and returned to the original user. Don't overlook that. We can say it's canon because it happened in the movies and the movies are canon. Deku's quirk is called One For All, so maybe a Naruto shroud is in the future. Either way, I do really hope that there's a moment where they tell Deku that he has to traverse the Singularity and find the second and third users and ask permission to use their quirks. One For All's second and third users are shrouded in mystery, and with Deku incapacitated and their quirks unknown, there could be a possibility that the second or third user find Deku unworthy. I mean, they've been hidden from us the entire time, so something's up. Whether or not their quirks can help Deku is up to speculation. Either way, Deku needs like Superman levels of power now. The type of power that I'm talking about is the one that launches him above and beyond everybody else, the one that just makes him not even in the question anymore. But I do need it to be something ridiculous that's been amplified by One For All ridiculously, and now it's like regen or invulnerability. I mean, imagine if the Madman was gifted with the ability to walk into any situation whatsoever, no questions asked, and be okay. I mean, the prospect of One For All taking a simple quirk and turning it into invulnerability is absolutely insane, and I do not want to assume that much. I do want to assume that the second and third users will be in the future. The big mystery behind the fourth user was a little bit of a bust, as his quirk was literally Spidey sense, and with the addition of Float and Black Whip, Deku is probably, he's just Spider-Man now. But all in all, by taking Deku out of the picture, it gives Horikoshi a little bit of an opportunity to introduce characters to the plot that might shake up the status quo. Chapter 296 confirmed that All For One has succeeded in creating distrust in the system. With Endeavor being dethroned, not only will there be a vacant title of number 1, but the integrity of the entire process of picking a number 1 hero is compromised. And regardless if it's addressed or not, the commission knew more than they're leading on. If students and civilians knew about the rumor about Endeavor's quirk breeding, it's safe to say the commission disregarded it and knew blatantly. And I do think that Endeavor will absolutely retire after this, and not only that, he could be facing criminal charges himself. I know that we're here to talk about the prospect of Deku being in a coma and getting a history lesson inside of One For All, but this is a kind of like, an outstanding tab here at the bar. And I'm trying to be patient and not overlook what's happening on the outside of Deku's healing process / coma. I think that this whole jailbreak thing that's getting ready to ramp up, it's going to be super swift. After Overhaul lost, I am 100% sure that the cliffhanger for that chapter was Shigaraki showing up, and then the following chapter was him in the League doing work, killing Snatch and stealing the arms of Overhaul. That precedent alone would mean that the next chapter is just going to be a steamroll jailbreak, and that is going to lead right into Deku healing / whatever's going to be going on. After everything is blown over, the big discussion is going to be the safety of the students, and whether or not some of the students will even drop out. We saw that heroes were straight up shell-shocked at the incident and they up and quit in the most recent chapter. So it'll be doubling down hard if, this was the breaking point for some of the kids at UA and one drops out. And I guess, in one way, that kind of gives Shinzo an open spot for the hero class. But I've seen theories move through the grapevine, and I'm looking forward to see the more obvious Endeavor / Shoto stuff and the introduction of the obvious, Deku's dad. The evolution of My Hero Academia relies on its ability to adapt and resolve long-standing plot holes. Think about everything that just got resolved. We got the Toya reveal, we got Best Jeanist revealing to be alive, we got Bakugo's hero name, and on top of that, we have some last minute weird Mr. Compress Robin Hood bullshit. Either way, I wasn't expecting so much ground to get covered in such a short amount of time. Horikoshi wrote this arc elegantly, and explicitly, I do not have a clear prediction for, chapter 297. And I don't really have an explanation for all my theory videos recently. I've just been getting more and more into theorizing about My Hero Academia, and it's been a while since I've been, dusting out some prediction theories, so it's gonna take a little bit for me to get back into my groove. But that's gonna do it for today's video. If you think that Deku's gonna be in a coma learning from past users, let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you have an idea as to which student might call it quits, be sure to let me know down below as well. And if you want more videos like these, be sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button. And until next time, this is Dan, signing off. Cheers.